This is the player I'm going to get mad at you guys about, just so, you know, steel yourself.
Failure.
You take it very personally.
You shame me, guys. You shame me.
Oh.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
So I'm just going with my heart over my head because my head is stupid anyway.
It's a sight for sore eyes.
Oh, that's just dumb, though.
I've never been proven more wrong in my life so quickly and so dramatically. Recording July 25th, 2022. You are listening to this on July 27th, 2022. The results of the Commissioner's Cup game will be out by then. We don't know what they are. We'll talk about it. Sixth podcast of the year featuring Snap Wilson, Robococo, MJ Tolliver. How you guys doing today?
Becky. Ladies first.
I am great. As I said, middle of a Bachelor episode in which a stunningly beautiful former professional cheerleader who's also very charismatic is crying over whether or not some guy named Eric will ever love her. It's a good show. So that's where I'm at.
That's it.
How are you
Stunningly beautiful. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong stuff. I have a page full of WNBA stats here. I need to look up the Bachelor stunningly beautiful team. I'll find a way to do that during the podcast.
Coco, no, she ready. She just ready. She like, yeah, whatever. I got it. I'm good. You up here looking up stats.
Stunningly beautiful cheerleader.
I'm watching. I'm watching the Sparks and Aces game.
Oh boy, I'll have more to say about that. Yeah.
We all have our own ways we prepare for the episode.
Yeah.
Respect
Just
the process.
Spam basketball for 2 days.
Is the cheerleader's name Gabby?
Yes.
Oh no.
You know, yeah, she is. She's good looking.
Yeah.
She's good looking.
She's also now an ICU nurse. Like she's like very accomplished.
Hey.
And then there's just this dude named Eric, and she can't believe she's not sure if he will ever love her.
Oh.
Snap went to IMDb real quick.
I just looked up the Bachelor
cast.
cheerleader, and that was the first thing that popped up. Now I'm staring at pictures of her. This is your podcast for today, folks.
It's a Bachelor recap pod now. Sorry
Bachelor
about it.
recap pod. We've never watched, but I will just review. Okay, so big upcoming news amongst our teams this week. We'll open that with that because I forgot to record 6 players this week. So you know what? That's just going to have to happen next week. The Commissioner Cup game tomorrow in Chicago. Becky, are you going to it?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could be going to it if they had won that game against the Liberty, but they didn't. So it's not in Las Vegas and I can't go.
Sorry.
Yeah, you and me both.
He sound heartbroken.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much does this game mean to you?
Oh, I feel like I'm gonna say 6. It would be less, but it's the Aces. And
Okay, that makes
matters.
sense. Yeah.
Plus, I think they're the top 2 teams in the standing, and I think they're probably the best 2 teams in the league. So it's also a very likely. Yeah, we'll discuss. But it's also just like a very likely matchup for the Sky in the playoffs.
Wow.
If they want to win. So it's also helpful to see them play again.
I'm not far off from that. I'm at about a 5. I really don't care if we win or lose. I'd like not to get blown out just because I'm tired of the team getting blown out of late. I shouldn't say of late, over like the past few weeks. There's just been a couple of losses that have really rankled me. And another blowout would be another one here. If it's close, I'll be happy. If they wind up giving up and giving Sydney the bench mob, Sydney Colson's kids 15 minutes, I'll be fine with that too, because it's just another game on an already packed schedule. And I could do without it, to be honest with you. So first up, we are going to be looking at first of all, let's look at this Commissioner Cup. They just added some new information to it. Coinbase decided to throw some of their fake money on top of the prize. How much was it? It was 2,000 or what was it?
Monopoly money.
Yeah, some Monopoly money on top of it. See if I can find the news about that. Maybe not. I can't. It's Bitcoin. They threw a whole bunch on there. Coinbase is kind of a garbage company that is barely a company at this point. And they make it very, very difficult for people to actually divest the Bitcoin that they have. So it's like, God only knows what this will actually be worth by the time anybody gets to be able to cash it. We were making jokes before the pod that the players were going to get $5,000, the winner would get $5,000, and now the winner is going to get like $5,000.40. So, God only knows with taxes how it all works, and they may wind up costing them money for all we know.
Yeah, how many of the players' Coinbase accounts are going to get like hacked next year?
They'll pay the taxes and then it'll all go away.
They're forcing all the players on the team to open Coinbase accounts, which is also a whole
we need to open Coinbase. Oh, Coinbase dropped by 50% yesterday. Damn. We're sorry.
Yeah, that whole company is a mess, and the more the W needs to get out of this deal like as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of having their name all over everything. Anyway, moving on to our first segment, our weak sauce. I'm going to talk the top 5 teams in the league. We talked the mediocre morale of slots 6 through 11, and we're going to move on now to the top 5 who all have championship aspirations, I would say. In standings order, the Sky, the Aces both have qualified for the playoffs. The Aces qualified with their recent win over the Sparks. The Connecticut Sun, Seattle Storm, Washington Mystics, that is the current standings. Everybody is 1 game behind the previous team. So you can kind of work that out, how close everybody is. We'll go, I guess, in inverse order, and we'll talk Mystics first. They are at 17 and 11 on the season. They are 8th in offensive rating, which is kind of surprising, but they are an elite defensive team, even with or without Elena Deladon. 94.3, first in the league. And for the net rating, they're actually 4th. They're one percentage point ahead of the Seattle Storm at 5.3. Obviously, this is a very different team with and without Elena Deladon in the lineup. I will have her on-off rating in a little bit. So when we're looking ahead to playoffs, we have to think of what the team looks like with EDD in the lineup and how dangerous that is, what their percentage chances look like.
Did she go down?
No, she's just been playing the limited schedule where she's playing like, I'll have to look that up as well. I think she's playing around like 70% of the games total this season. She just misses stuff for some occasional road trips for like rest and whatnot. How are we feeling about the Mystics? Becky, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the Mystics can be a little hard to assess just because of the Elena Deladon being in and out and trying to determine how much do you weigh the games when she's out? How much is that going to hurt them at the end of the season? Not just can she keep up with the playoff schedule and that she hasn't gone the same run against the various teams, and they haven't got that as a group. She's still a very, very, very good player. So I'm not like super concerned about her ability to have gelled with the rest of the team and get run against the other teams. But they got a lot of good pieces around it. I think Natasha Cloud's really stepped up this year. Mm-hmm. She's the leading assists maker this year. She's unseated Courtney Vandersloot for the first time in like 5 seasons, averaging more assists than her across a not too bad assist to turnover ratio. And then Shakira Austin's slotted in really nicely. So I don't know. I did get a partner at my firm to bet some money on the Washington Mystics and promised that he would share it with me if they win, because of their odds seemed out of whack with their actual.
Do you remember what the odds were?
Plus like 2,100 or 2,400.
Oh, wow. I wish I had gotten in on that.
Is it too late?
I don't know. I think they were like 6th or something. And I don't know. This guy knows very little about women's basketball, except he comes by my office and talks to me about the Chicago Sky occasionally. And I told him to place a bet on the Mystics based on the numbers. So
Yeah, they had, I know they had good odds. They were like 20-1 or something at the beginning of the season, which struck me as a little high, but I don't think I bet on them because I wasn't really optimistic about EDD's health. Now I'm feeling not as great about that. Yeah, she has played 19 games out of a total of 28. I'm not going to determine what the percentages are on that. I think that's around that is around 60-70%, something like that. So with her on the floor, they are a net rating of 10.7. And with her off the floor, they're a net rating of 2.1. There's a lot of bigger splits than that, and a lot of players have done a little bit better. But they do have a very, very solid playoff rotation if it comes down to it, with her, Cloud, Shakira Austin, Ariel Atkins, Alicia Clark. Like those are all very, very solid, the kind of players that you really want to play in the playoffs. And then on top of that, you have Shatori, who has been playing really well of late, and Maisha Hines-Allen, Elizabeth Williams. That's a very, very solid group to go in with. Good 8 players there that you feel pretty confident about in the playoffs. They're likely going to get the matchup against Seattle or whomever in that 4-5, which is going to be really, really rough. So they're going to have a tougher road, I think, than just about anybody in that regard. But I do like their roster. I do like it with EDD on the floor. I'm looking at lineup data as well, just because I'm very, very curious about who some of the best WNBA lineups that are going on out there. The one, they don't have anybody they don't have a lineup that's like super solid. Even with Elena Deladon, like the best one is at plus 6.6, I think, which is much lower than a lot of other teams have. So I don't think they've quite found their closers yet. Nothing that has at least shown out and been good. And that might be just a thing with inconsistency because they haven't gotten to play with Elena consistently throughout the year. It's just been kind of off and on, this and that, and they have to figure out other things. But I do feel, they're obviously better than their record. They're obviously better than their team performance this year. Elena is still a top 5 player when she plays. She's not 2019 EDD, MVP EDD, but she is still pretty great. And you have to worry about them. MJ, how do you feel about the Mystics?
I actually think we're in like a state of overreaction. I think that she'll be there for the playoffs, like every game, because they have what type of break?
She has to be, right? I mean, she can't take time off during the playoffs.
Like what they have, what break between each game, like 2 days or something like that.
Yeah, it's usually 2 days.
Yeah, she'll be there, and everybody won't be ready for what's to come, because I actually think the total opposite. Like, I don't think the statistics or analytics or anything can really tell us anything, because it's nothing concrete. We got like 9-10 more game size from the regular rotation as opposed to her. But then when she's there, it's just like she looks like, what's the song? How I go? Prepare for total domination. Like every time she's there.
What song is that?
It's, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about Bring It On or something like that. Shout out to
Okay.
Gabby Williams.
That's being added into the intro.
It's okay. I was about to say, Bring It On. We should ask Gabby the cheerleader.
That's where I got it from.
That's...
Don't blame me. I have a daughter.
Okay.
And she likes to cheer. So, but no, and then Ariel Atkins, and even like in Deladon's absence, like I've seen some instances where Shakira is starting to get her ground, and Hines-Allen is looking pretty good too, just plugging in. So I think with her being there constant for every game, like we're gonna see. We might end up looking at it where Becky told him to place that bet. We might actually be looking at that might be between the Aces and Sky and Mystics, between who's going to be the champion. And I know some people say, "Oh, what about Seattle?" But we'll see. But I think
we'll get to them next.
I like the Mystics.
I'm gonna look up WNBA Championship odds. I want to get in on that if that's where they're at.
Yeah, let that be. Don't even put that on the micro. Don't put that on wax. Let keep that between us real quick first.
So yeah, things look very, very promising for them, but they are probably going to have to face one of the other top 5 teams in the first round. And let's move on to the 4 seed real quick, unless anybody has anything else about the Mystics. All right.
Nope.
Moving on to the 4 seed, we have standings. I have standings here. There they are. Seattle Storm currently at 18-10. They are 7th in offensive rating in the league. They are 2nd in the league in defensive rating for a 5.2, worst out of these 5 teams currently. One thing they had going for them, it's kind of cooled off a little bit, but they do still have the best 5-player lineup in the league at 15 net rating for their normal starting lineup. It changed a little bit in the most recent game, but it was Subaru, Jewel Lloyd, Brianna Stewart, Gabby Williams, Ezzy Magbagor, currently hopping along at a +15. They did start Tina Charles, and they played a lot of zone in the most recent game. I'm not a huge fan of that, and it may just be something that they broke out against the Atlanta Dream because the Atlanta Dream can't shoot unless they're playing the Aces. Then they can shoot really, really well. I have a lot of worries about this team. I think that they've been, I'm not going to say at the top of their game because Jewel Lloyd has kind of struggled all year, but I don't know what has to happen for them to get better. One of the things, you can point to Tina Charles and go, oh, Tina Charles, here's a weapon. She can come off the bench or do whatever for them. They already had to make some allowances for her playing a zone because defensively, she's just not great. She's still hasn't shown much of anything on defense, even in Seattle. She's just not a good defender at this point. I think it really hurts them. It hurts the thing that they do well. It's minutes that are being taken away from Ezzy so far, along with all of their backups. I don't like it. And as great as Brianna has been, I don't know that this is the group to get her far. Yeah, Ezzy played 19 minutes in the last game without having any real foul trouble or any reason why she shouldn't have played more. This worries me a little bit because Ezzy has been one of the key defensive players for them all year. And she's also had a very, very decent offensive season as well. I would rather have her out there than Tina Charles, but it looks like they're making some allowances to get Tina out on the floor.
Well, to be fair, the last game, Tina had 20 and 10 by halftime.
Yeah.
So, you know,
she's putting up some numbers. I understand.
There's some argument for keeping in the player that's having the game. Just throwing it out there.
I don't know. I think it takes away from what they've done very well, which has just been Brianna and some additional playmaking and that killer defense. I don't know how much of, how well this looks in terms of the playoffs. I think of all the teams, they look slightly the weakest to me, but maybe I'm just looking at this in the wrong way. How do you feel about them, Becky?
I don't feel very optimistic about this team. I think partially I'm being a little overreacting from that game against Phoenix on Friday, where just like I looked up and they had completely fallen apart and was like, what happened here?
Right.
And it made me kind of concerned. I'm a little sick of, I feel like Tina Charles is the new person that everyone likes to talk about how bad she is for some reason.
Okay.
So I just don't want to talk about
that. But is she really? Is she really bad? I mean, besides defense, like she brings something to the table,
She had 20 and 10 and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
like she's still a very solid player.
She can put up solid offensive numbers. She's a lot high volume, middling efficiency, but at middling efficiency at high volume is still very good floor raising. I just don't think that she is and you could point to also if you like, okay, she put 20 and 10 up in the half on the Dream, and she went
very efficiently, I may add.
Yeah, and then she went 7 for 17 and against Phoenix, so she can shoot you into it or she can shoot you out of it, just like a lot of those high volume players.
That's not too bad though. 7
and 17. They got outscored 34-13 in that fourth quarter.
I mean, well, that's bad.
Yeah.
That was a wild game.
That's atrocious.
I enjoyed that game. That was a lot of fun. Just speaking of which, I know this is having to do more with the morass, but when I was looking up lineup data for just to see which teams had really good lineups going. I wanted to point out the Phoenix Mercury. Their two most used lineups. Their second most used lineup was back when they had Tina Charles, and it was Diana Taurasi, Tina Charles, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Diamond DeShields, Brianna Turner, negative 12.9 net rating, and then the post.
Good Lord, negative?
Yes, negative 12.9 per 100 possessions. And then they have their most used lineup, which I think has mostly come since the Charles trade. Taurasi, Shea Petty, Skylar, Sophie Cunningham, Brianna Turner, plus 15.7 net rating.
Oh, damn.
So
Damn.
That's interesting. I don't know that it's going to matter too much come playoff time, but I just thought that really jumped out at me, how the two extremes of the lineups they have. They replaced Diamond and Tina with Shea Petty and Sophie Cunningham.
That's a 28 point turnaround.
Yep. Yeah. And it could have to do with, like with what teams they were facing or whatever. But in any case, it just jumped out at me. I thought
no, we putting that on Tina. We gonna go ahead and
we're putting that on Tina. It's your fault.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Do we have a sample size of what it's been with Seattle thus far?
I can look that up as we go along, but we'll just kind of say. So MJ, how do you feel about Seattle?
I feel the same way I felt when we did like the first or second pod, that Seattle last season had an identity crisis, and they're having the same problem right now, which is why they brought in Tina Charles to try to stabilize and set everyone into a certain role, because I don't know who's not telling who that this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. I guess that's supposed to be on a coach, but apparently there's some type of hierarchy issue. And we see it in it, but this time it's just like it shouldn't happen, because Sue has, I don't want to say the D word, but she's slipped some in certain areas. Jewel has been inconsistent, and the only consistent person has been Brianna Stewart. So I would think that this team would go Brianna first, and then I'm not sure what they think Tina Charles is. Like, is she the second option suddenly?
She might be. She might be. She's definitely putting up a lot of points for them. That's for sure.
She is. So
or a lot of shot attempts. I think over her time, she's averaging 10.5. So she's probably behind Jewel still in that regard.
And I was going to say she should be third option, and just tell Jewel, I was going to say that to be second option, regardless of what happens on the floor, because that's going to create order. And then everybody else that's rotational after that can get in where they fit in and understand what their roles are, instead of it being an identity crisis after Brianna. Like, because that's really just what it is. It's the same thing as last year. And okay, now do they figure it out at the very end like they did last year? I don't know. It's not looking like it, especially with the negative 12 flip to plus 15. You talking about for Phoenix? I'm really interested in seeing.
I told you last week it was addition by subtraction.
Yeah, so now you got to do it backwards. You got to do Seattle before they got her, and then Seattle since they have her. And,
I don't think she's played enough minutes to really get a run on that, but that will be interesting to look at it like by the end of the year and see how it is. The other thing is
we'll revisit this.
Yes, we will. Prior to the playoffs, we'll look at the Tina effect and see how it's impacted them. The bench just has not come along much at all.
Too,
yeah,
with Mercedes out.
Mercedes out. It was good news that they did find at least a potential solution for the headaches that she's been experiencing. I know how scary unknown headaches can be to a person's health. It always worried me instantly when I heard that. But to hear she had an operation, that it was successful, whatever that means in context.
Let's actually take a moment real quick to tell people, if you are experiencing extreme headaches, I have a really good friend, and no, seriously, this is serious.
A really good friend. All right, go on.
No, I have a really good friend and my sister also.
Okay.
They experienced like really bad headaches, started not being able to deal with light. It was like migraine headaches and stuff like that. They ended up with aneurysms. So make sure you know what I'm saying? Like, take the time to really, if you having a real bad headache all the time, just make sure you go like really check on that, because it can lead to an aneurysm. Where like my friend has like a steel plate in his head now. So you guys look out for your health and go take care of stuff.
Anything
like that,
involving the brain is really bad news. So
snap. I should have told you. I mean,
well, when you said I have a really good friend, I thought you had a really good friend with a solution or something like that.
No,
He's got a website. It's got some pills.
Yeah. No.
No. So anyway, prayers up for Mercedes. I hope she has a full recovery. But getting back to it, the bench is just has never come along. Stephanie Talbot's starting to shoot a little better. She got her true shooting up into the mid 500s, which is not bad considering where it was. But Epiphany Prince, Brianna January, Jantel Lavender, not that we were expecting a whole lot from Jantel Lavender, but all struggling. Everybody has been struggling. They have, if we can rely on Stephanie Talbot, they have like 7 players, if you include Tina, that I would trust in any capacity.
Can I frustrate Becky?
Oh, okay.
Becky hasn't got frustrated with me about Gabby Williams.
Oh. Yeah, Gabby is not a shooter that I trust in the playoffs either. I should
where
point
is
that
Gabby?
out.
Because I feel like that's part of the identity crisis. I feel like Gabby will come here and help give them another look, and it's more like she's just auxiliary. So
I think Gabby knows what she's there to do. Like, she is primarily there for her defensive prowess.
Yeah.
And she's hustling for rebounds, and you know, she'll take the occasional 3 when she's wide open. And then a lot of it is her driving into the hoop.
The passing has been really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little point Gabby kind of comes out occasionally. So
yeah,
I wouldn't attribute any identity issues with Gabby, because I feel like she seems to know what she's here to do. And that's to
I just wanted the Gabby take. We didn't mention her name at all.
I do worry about her in the playoffs, just because I think you need shooters in the playoffs. I think there's less. They definitely call fewer fouls in the playoffs, so drives are not quite as impactful. You need that outside shooting. I've dealt with this with Jackie Young over the past 3 playoffs that she's been in. So I completely understand. That's what worries me a little bit about it, is there's just going to be less space. There's going to be people packing the paint and getting to the rim. Drawing free throws is all going to be a lot harder. So that aspect of it worries me. But Gabby has played very well this year. She has been, like I said, she's been part of the best lineup in the league. It's starting to get challenged a little bit from Chicago's lineup, but yeah, no complaints. If you're part of the best lineup, best net rating lineup in the league, then you're doing something right. All right. Anybody have any other takes on the Seattle Storm? All right. Let us move along to the Connecticut Sun. The Connecticut Sun are currently 19-9. They are 2nd in offensive rating and 3rd in defensive rating. Probably the most well-rounded out of any of these teams. Tops in net rating by a significant margin at this point at 8.4, which is a very, very good thing. And yet I kind of feel like they have a problem that maybe is just looking back at the way that the semifinal went last year. I feel like Chicago figured out how to take Jonquel out of her game. And it was something that worked pretty consistently. And if anything, this team feels even more susceptible to that. Their best lineup, they're like Washington in a way. They don't really have a killer lineup that I can see. They have their most common lineup, which is Bonner, Alice Thomas, Jonquel Jones, Courtney Williams, Natisha Heidemann. In terms of minutes, is only at a +4 net rating. And I don't see anything else that goes much beyond that. It's just a weird thing to me. I'm not really crazy about Point Alyssa. It's not the team performance necessarily when she's on the floor. I just think that there's a lot of weaknesses with that group that can be exploited. On the other hand, they do a lot of things also very, very well. All of the defense and rebounding. They probably have the highest defensive ceiling if everybody can play up to the way that they're capable of playing. But when you don't have a lot of guard play, you don't have reliable backcourt players who can initiate off the bounce and actually make shots, things get very, very difficult. MJ, how do you feel about the Connecticut Sun?
I agree with you as far as looking at them from last postseason and wondering if it's the same pretty much doom set up for them. But I will say Natisha Heidemann as of late has been looking Kelsey Plumish.
Okay.
Like somebody told her, well, you just got the trigger, so just shoot it. So I don't know if she can carry that into the playoffs, that can generate spacing. I'm not sure if it'll be enough. And then I just feel like did we ever, I'm probably lost on this, but did we ever determine what's wrong with John Quill? Why she's on like a minutes restriction and all of that coming into the season?
She's basically come out of that, and she's been playing great ever since then.
Well, I guess I just blame it on Alyssa Thomas then. Because because Alyssa came back and she got to sacrifice some of the shots that she was getting up because she was averaging almost 20.
Yeah, Alyssa has definitely. I actually want to talk a little bit about her during the MVP talk because I do think she's had a very interesting season, but it's also a season where she sacrificed a lot of individual numbers to make things work with this team when Jasmine went down. They are, minus the game that Jonquel missed, they have won their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Last 5 in a row. They had that loss to the Dallas Wings a couple of weeks ago. Been playing pretty well, and then the Aces got a hold of them when Jonquel was out, but ever since then they've been playing pretty great.
And then Hartley just went down too. So
yeah, there's a few matchups along the way where I don't really like them. I don't think I like them against Washington with a fully healthy EDD. I definitely don't like them against Chicago.
Oh, we know.
Yeah. So
no, not with Meesman. No.
Becky, how do you feel about the Connecticut Sun?
Oh.
Chicago's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Let them have it.
No, I think you two said most of what I was going to say in terms of their limitations. We talked about them just 2 weeks ago with Kayla on the pod. She was a little more optimistic about the team than I am, but I get it. That's what it's like to be a fan and to cover the team.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of, I think you're able to see some strengths and find highlights. She was more optimistic about the potential of Courtney Williams and Duana Bonner to string together multiple games efficiently in the playoffs, which is my concern, that I think they'll probably win some big games if those players go off, but I think they can end up being a liability with their shot selection. I agree as a total bummer about Bria Hartley. When a player gets injured, don't make a video of it and then just put it on my timeline, please, because I didn't see it and then I saw it and I was like, I wish I had not. It was pretty nasty.
They haven't had an update yet, have they?
They haven't, no. I think she's an interesting piece to add to the team and I was excited to see it, but I didn't watch the game where she got injured, and so may or may not be able to see her on this team. But yeah, I'm concerned they just can be stopped in the same way they did last year. And I'm not sure if they've done enough to prevent that from happening again this year if someone follows the Skies playbook.
Yep, more or less agree.
Skies playbook. not a Sky player. The Skies playbook.
Well, Kayla's gonna be mad because we spent like 6 minutes on her team.
We love you, Kayla. Thank you.
We love you, Kayla.
Kayla gave us our most popular pod in ages. The Kayla
there you
Dos Santos
go.
boost was absolutely real. So
the Dos Santos boost. Sounds like
the mediocre morass did not give us the same amount of boost.
No, that didn't. People didn't lean into the mediocre morass. You know what?
Yeah.
That's your loss, everybody. That's a great title.
Yeah. Especially if you break it down.
Look at you, Kayla. You're doing numbers. All right. So moving on, we're gonna move on to my team, the Las Vegas Aces, 20-8. Second in the league, 1 game behind the Chicago Sky. They are first, I believe, actually by quite a distance in offensive rating, and a lovely. Oh, they're up to 6th.
Look at them feeling good.
You're about to find out how not good I'm feeling. 6th in defensive rating. They were down to 8th like a couple of games ago. So something changed. And they are 3rd overall in net rating, only 0.1 behind the Chicago Sky, but that is not reflective of how the teams have played as late. I may bring up the last however many games numbers just to show how kind of a mess it's been on. The starting lineup has improved. They were down at like, I guess it also shows you how fluid these numbers are. Maybe we shouldn't take them so seriously, but they were back up to 13.4 net rating for the starting lineup. They were down at like 7.7 at one point during the low point where they were dropping a lot of games. My concerns over my team are very, very simple. It is that the defensive system, players have played really good defense in the past. I know they're capable of doing it. The defensive system that they're currently using is really bad. I don't know why they're continuing to use it. It's like basically a, not quite a zone, but it's like a box and one usually, where they play off the ball handler, like 2 steps off the ball handler, which gives them all the room in the world to drive. And also time for the opposing offense to get into whatever setup that they want. And those setups usually lead to wide open threes. I don't understand this system. I don't know why they're doing it. My best guess is that they're doing it to conserve energy because the starters are playing a lot of minutes. I can bring that up, but I think everybody except for Asia or Dirica might be over 30 minutes a game.
I heard the energy part. I was Becky came into that spaces too earlier, but I heard someone say that they're playing like they're trying to prevent injury, basically. Like they're just trying to make it to the playoffs, and that's the type of defense they're playing. They're not trying to be physical at all right now. And
that may be it, and that may be
then all of a
decision.
sudden spring it on everybody. But
that may be it.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking when I was
just as a fan. It's just absolutely driving me crazy. But that could be it. Is that they're being so passive because they just want to avoid injury. They really can't afford to have any of their starters out for too much longer, for any significant distance, because it kind of really hampers the team a bit. We are starting to see some bench contributions. Riquana is rounding into form after she was injured for quite a while. Ileana Rupert has been a delight. I did not expect a 2021 draftee to drafted at the end of the first round to be good, given the cursed nature of that draft, and yet she's played awesome. She's looking fantastic to me. Shoots threes, actually is capable of playing pretty good defense. She has really good footwork and good length, and I just really like her. I like her better than our veteran backup bigs at this point. Just the gift. She's been the gift this season, the unexpected gift. But in terms of players I trust in the playoffs, it's basically the top 5 and Riquana. I don't want to see heavy Kia Stokes minutes. I'm tired of seeing Kia Stokes minutes. It's just, she doesn't work within the nature of the offense, and they're not playing good defense anyway. And that's where I think she would contribute, but the system isn't allowing them to play good defense as it is. Teresa Plaisance is shooting pretty well, given especially that some of her threes have to come in those garbage time minutes where she has to play a role where is not really suited to play, like out on the wing and having to, be in a position where it's just not what she does. She winds up having to take a lot of bad shots when those garbage minutes happen. So I'm perfectly fine with her current 35%. I do think that she's a reliable shooter and a very good rebounder, but I don't think she's going to have a huge contribution in the playoffs. I just don't see that happening. So those two things worry me. If they're capable of breaking out and suddenly springing an actually good defense, and we've seen it a couple of times. We saw it in that Connecticut game. They decided to go out and attack the ball handlers. When they do that, they're great. When Kelsey Plum is going under screens 5 feet away from the shooter, we have a problem. And I'm trying not to think about the Dream game because I was livid at watching that game. But looking back on it, the Dream just made a couple of really garbage shots. They made threes that had no business going in. And, nevertheless, it was not a good game. Even the recent Sparks game, there was a point in the third quarter where the Aces looked really frustrated. The players on the court looked really frustrated. I don't think that they were happy with what was going on. There was a little snipping and snapping at each other during offensive setups. So there might be something about the system that they're not really happy with. That they were mad that the game was close. And then they found a way to take it out on the Sparks and go and dismantle them in the fourth quarter. I keep hoping that these losses that we see, the big 30-point loss to Minnesota, the loss to the Liberty, that never should have happened. It was right before the break. If you're going to go out and play tough and play hard and leave it out on the floor, that was the game to do it. Because you win that game, we're hosting the Commissioner's Cup at home. You don't have to travel. That's one travel thing that you don't have to make. That's worth it just for that. Go and win that game. And then you don't have to travel. You play the Commissioner's Cup game at home. You're off until Friday, the Friday following, and you're at home. So just win the game. But no, they sat there, they played passively, and New York shut the lights out, and we lost. And I just keep waiting for, it's like, is this the game that they're going to get mad and just start playing the way that they're capable of playing? Is this the game? It worries me. The lack of depth, the fact that we haven't been playing defense, and I just don't know that you can turn it on like a switch, is what just stands out. I feel like we could be headed for a very, very disappointing playoff. We may be one of those teams that just drops it to the first round matchup because the team can't shift gears enough, and they allow a 35-point quarter, and that puts us behind the 8 ball. Then we have to go on the road, and then we wind up losing there. Talk me out of it, guys. Talk me off the ledge. Where am I wrong about my team?
I don't know how to talk you off the ledge, but hopefully they're in practice, like practicing physicality on defense, I guess. I'm not worried about their offense. As long as they're all intact, I'm not worried about their offense. I can't talk you off the cliff per se, but I feel like, I'll save that for the next segment, but what I think of someone, and then that I already felt like the Aces, it is really Aces, Sky, and Washington to me. So, and I also think teams that fly high, sometimes you got to come back down to earth, refuel, and then go fly higher. So this could be that. It's just the ebb and flow of the season.
Yeah, it could be happening at the right time where it's just, all right, this is where we're going to have our swoon and not have it later on in the year. I just keep waiting for them to like pull out of it and start fighting consistently. Becky, as a Sky fan, are you worried about the Aces in the playoffs?
Of course.
Okay.
But here's my soundbite. It's the soundbite take.
Okay, here we go.
The Las Vegas Aces are the victims of their early season successes.
Okay.
And the reason being, the slump we're seeing now seems to be coming from a couple things. One, like they were shooting the lights out really early in the season. And I saw, for example, in that dream game, that they were just taking so many early threes. And Becky talked about it too, that they were just trying to get back in by just not running a set and taking early threes. And they were kind of used to those going in. And it didn't seem like they had another mode that they were going to or willing to go to sometimes. They just wanted to try to get the easy three, which is a great way to win if they're falling. And of course, the dream, we're hitting all of them. So that must be annoying that they're throwing up those shots and it's not working on the other end. But also meant too that because they've had such a lights out offense, that they're weren't as reliant on their defense for wins, and therefore, haven't had the practice of stepping it up, haven't had to do it. They seem to get frustrated when they're losing, which every team does, but you kind of need to have that experience losing and figuring out how to win to be a good playoff team. So, the good news for you, Snap, is they're doing it now, and hopefully this is going to prompt some change and like MJ said, fly higher later. And on defense too, it also seems like they're kind of used to Asia making great defensive plays once someone gets to the basket, which is great. And she makes a lot of great blocks, but that's a concern too if you're reliant on that on defense. So those are my concerns. Oh, and then of course their bench. Though Rupert and Brianna Williams really have been great assets. I I had covered Rupert and like seen
Mm.
what she could do in France, but you never know what that's going to look like in the WNBA. And it's really exciting to see how well she's slotted in already. She's a really
Yes.
promising player. It's a little hard to rely on your rookie that started mid-season to make huge contributions in the playoffs. Like that's just not a
Yep.
bet you're normally going to make on a rookie, but that doesn't mean she can't or won't, because she's been making some really good plays here. So that's also a bright spot for them.
Yeah, I do realize that I'm kind of down on a team that is what 1, 2, 3, 5-1 over their last 6. It's just at the same time, it's just the way that they're playing at times that it worries me. Like you see cracks, and I saw it before we were heading into this slump. Just the defense getting slightly worse, game after game after game, and then finally it just kind of spilled over, and they didn't seem like they were stopping. I'm like, okay, here we go. We're seeing that you can't exist on substandard defensive effort. But then they just leaned into the passive defense, and that just worries me from all right, do you recognize what the problem is? It doesn't seem like you recognize what the problem is, because you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And we don't know enough about Becky to see how this changes in the playoffs, but I guess we are going to find out.
I have one way to try to make you feel better, and that depends on how much you watched the Golden State Warriors last year.
Okay.
They went through the same thing, except it was because of injury, but they flew super high to start the season.
Yeah.
Threes falling, defense on, I think it was like the second best defense in the league at a time.
Yeah.
First for a certain amount of games. Then Draymond went down. Then Steph Curry went down. Then their scoring efficiency went down. Then their defensive rating and efficiency went down. Then Klay Thompson came back, and then he was just jacking shots to try to get his rhythm, but everybody was upset about it. And then they hit the playoffs, and boom, they got a championship. So
that's fair.
Just kind of look at it like that.
Yeah, it is. I realize this could be. I could just be looking back on it and be like, Chicago was 7-7, or whatever. They were 500 going into the playoffs, so nothing matters until you actually hit there. In any case, even if my team were playing great, the number one team, it would make me think that we probably weren't going to win anyway. The Chicago Sky cruising along 21-7, game up on the Aces. They are the 5th best offensive team. Wait, no, that's not right. The 3rd best offensive team at 105 points per 100 possessions, and the 5th best defensive team. They seem to like go up and down with the defense, because I remember them being much higher. All the top 5 defensive teams are all pretty close anyway. All the ones that are under 100 points per 100 possessions. So they've been kind of shifting up and down. They're not very far behind Atlanta, who we all know is a very good defensive team. In fact, I think they have the exact same defensive rating. Net rating is 7.0. They are 2nd in the NBA. They have the 2nd best lineup in terms of net rating, not very far behind Seattle's lineup. Well, I guess if we're looking at Phoenix has 15.7, but I'm not counting them. The Cheyenne Parker, Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, Emma Miesemann, Kalia Copper, plus 14.2.
That's legit.
And have a great bench.
Yes.
I know we're going to be doing award predictions at some point, but you can lock up Executive of the Year for James Wade, because to get not only Emma Miesemann, sign her, to do the Julie Alleman trade, acquire her, and then to find Rebecca. Actually, everybody else gets the worst Executive of the Year, because how the hell did Rebecca Gardner slip through the cracks?
Yes. For
so long. They run 9 deep, and I don't even think they necessarily need that 9th player in Dana Evans all that much when it's coming around to the playoffs.
Oh,
we got that great starting 5. We have Rebecca Gardner, who should be on an all defensive team come the end of the year and get some 6th player voting, and I don't know, whatever other awards we want to hand her, because she's been phenomenal. My big worry with Chicago at the beginning of the year was the athleticism, and she has fixed that small forward position, whatever you want to call it, the three, the depth behind there. She solved that. She's the perfect antidote for what was you would think might hurt this team coming into this year. Yeah, that the top five: Candice, Emma, Kalia, Ali, Courtney, Vandersloot. And then you add Rebecca Gardner, you had Azure Stevens, who's a really good player. You had Julie Alamond, who is not shooting 48% on her threes anymore. And she still can't defend anybody, but she's perfectly fine to caddy for the limited minutes that Courtney Vandersloot will not play in the playoffs. And then you have Den Evans, because why not? Why not just add another pretty decent player to that entire list? They're deep, they're cohesive, they play good defense.
They're a cheat code.
Yeah, I don't even think they've hit their
their stride yet. No.
Yeah, their stride yet. I honestly don't.
Here come the playoffs, and they will.
All right, let's start with this. Becky, what worries you most about this team heading into the playoffs?
Don't ask
if
me.
anything.
We starting with Coco. This her team. We're gonna start with her. We're gonna middle with her and finish with her. I'm gonna chime in. She gonna say something to me. You gonna chime in and she gonna say something to you. We gonna, because this, I'll let y'all gotta have y'all teams, because I hear the passion in y'all voice about, like, I can tell how you feel about the Aces 5-1 and you're humble. So let's hear Becky do her thing too.
I'm mostly worried because I don't like to get my hopes up.
Y'all worried about, y'all sitting up here, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm worried because I can't have nice things.
They're worried about winning teams, America. They are worried about the top two. Go ahead.
Yeah,
it's that kind of year though.
There's a lot of positives here. When I was at the game on Friday, like, it always just strikes me like the Sky's passing is just gorgeous, and it's not just Sloot. Sloot wasn't even playing. Like, Emma to Julie, their passes to each other are just incredible. They really know how to find each other. They play as a really cohesive group. We were without Sloot, who's our best player, our second best player, our third best player. I don't know, somewhere in there.
And still winning close games. Like,
and we went 3-1 and lost one by 3 points on a back-to-back, right? So the depth is really strong, and unlike some of the other teams, it seems like we have an additional gear we can kick in the playoffs, in that the Sky's really even in how they spread their minutes. There's no Sky player playing over 30 minutes. Their starting lineup, Candice, Emma, Ka play 28 minutes per game. The Vanderquigs play 26 minutes per game. And their starting lineup has a really great net rating, and they can play a little more in the playoffs, right? Like, Wade is setting up this team really nicely to be able to kind of, if you just play those players a little more, push that team to the next level in the playoffs. I have a lot of faith in our coach. I think he just really showed what he could do in the playoffs last year in terms of how he's able to game plan other teams. And like you said, the depth, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was seeing some Julie Alamond slander, which I don't think is fair, but the fact that she stood in for Courtney Vandersloot.
Yeah, she does the job. That's the point, is that you can at least trust her out there.
And the Sky have not had that in a long time.
Yeah.
So we were very thankful for that. And like you said, I was most scared about who was going to back up Ka. And then we got Rebecca Gardner fell from heaven or from Spain and just fits in exactly what we need right there. So I don't know. I try not to be too hopeful again, because I get scared that I'll get my hopes up. But I feel really high on this team right now.
Yeah, one thing I do notice is that when things look like at the end of the game, if things are still close, they do have the area that they really kick in is defense. They get super duper physical and they get in your face. They make it very hard for other teams. Sometimes I think that they're getting a little lucky on some calls not being called, but that's not going to be a problem in the playoffs because they're even more hesitant to make those calls. So they get into playoff gear pretty well to close out games and to make sure that they come away with the win. Yeah, I'm super impressed.
I have one more reason why they're exciting. We also have, I think, I don't have the numbers back. We have the most balanced offense in terms of there's no player that's at like that every night in, night out we have to rely upon. Like if Kalia doesn't put up her 15 points this game, we're going to struggle. Like
Mm.
Candice didn't score one game and we were fine. So different players can step up on different nights and depending on what the other team is giving us. And so not having like some other teams, like kind of a player that like, oh, if you have an off night, you kind of worry about it. There, we have multiple weapons.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They actually have, oh geez, this is absolutely ridiculous. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players that average, well, okay, Sparkle Taylor doesn't really count. 7 players that average over 20 points per 100 possessions. Which is
Good Lord.
very, very, very good. And Dana Evans is only 0.3 off of that herself. Extremely balanced offense. The usage is yeah, Kalia is up at 24.1, and then you can go all the way down to like Rebecca Gardner at 18.5, and they're all within that range too in terms of their usage. It is really one of the more balanced offenses we've seen in the WNBA. Anybody can score on a given night. What did you have, MJ?
I don't have anything bad to say about Chicago, but fear them. They have everything. It's like literally a Swiss Army knife that the cartoon characters used to pull out, and they just kept pulling out different things, and it would be like a knife, a bat, a lock pick. You know what I'm saying? Like they just got everything. And I'm not sure if anyone can beat them, but onslaught of offense from the Aces over the course of what is it going to be later in the later rounds, 5 games.
Yeah, something has to go wrong. They just have to go cold, or
You gotta
or
beat
something.
them 3 games.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the scary part. But
yeah,
if they're, and you know how Candace is, she gonna get them locked in, and they're gonna be just impossible to deal with. And I don't know. I'm until somebody beats them, and just to give them respect as the champion, the defending, I'm just gonna say I don't really have nothing bad to say about them. And then them adding Emma to the team, what? Like if she wasn't there, then we could talk. We could really break down. Oh yeah, you can attack Chicago like this and that. You can't do that because it's by committee now. It's truly by committee. She is probably the glue between just the entire rotation. Like she helps it come all together and just stick. And I don't know if any other team has that. Like just that, obviously they may have a piece, like some teams may have the pieces in place for it to be like that, but they don't necessarily have a mentality, the experience, the set roles, or just knowing what each other brings to the table and where they have to pick up the slack for the others. Like Chicago has it figured out.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to close, they know how to execute when they need to, and they know how to attack your weaknesses. I don't see a lot of teams that just know how to do those things. So that's what makes them dangerous to me. And
yeah, they game plan very well too. They've shown a lot of interesting looks.
Good luck.
Yep. All right. So they're winning the title. I'm glad we figured that out. Congratulations, Becky.
I did think of a worry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Which is, you never know when this will pop up, and it pops up a fair amount throughout the game. The Sky's ultimate nemesis is the inbound pass. We just love to turn it over on inbound pass.
I thought you were going to say it was Sky Guy.
Oh yeah, Sky Guy.
Sky Guy is the ultimate nemesis.
But they have such great game planning in late game situations. Except every time they inbound it, I'm like, oh god, anything could happen right now. So
I think they'll be fine. Just don't inbound the ball. It'll be great.
Yeah,
kick it down court. All right, yeah, the Sky looked phenomenal. We'll see how this all holds up.
Let's hope for that.
I will be happy if we make it to the finals. I'll be fine with that. All right, I'm moving on to our final segment. We're going to be talking for emptying the bench. We're going to be talking MVPs. Does everybody have a list of top 5 at least?
Yeah, but some of them shouldn't be there, and that's how I'm gonna treat it.
Okay, all right. Well, there's somebody has to be fourth and fifth, and that's okay. Becky, you had more that you beyond. So why don't we go in this in like inverse order? We'll all go through our fives, fours, etc. on down. But since you went beyond the five, let's talk about some of your honorable mentions. Your six and on.
I wrote down 11, but they're not in order.
Okay. Wow. Here we go. All right. Who are the six that are not in your top five?
Okay. I have a top two, and then okay. Wait.
Oh, she brought it up.
Give me a second.
Okay.
Here's
Apple.
the thing. Here are my two preliminary questions. So,
Okay.
like I said last time we talked MVPs, I think I only talk about one MVP candidate per team.
Okay.
But my question for you two,
And you have 11.
I can see
well, I
how
have
she
11
does.
because I wrote down multiple people. So
Okay, fair
my question is two. So who do you think is Connecticut's MVP candidate, and who do you think is Chicago's MVP candidate?
Chicago's is easier for me to answer. I think it's Candace.
I think it is too, but
Some people would say Emma.
yeah, have you seen Emma? And also, have you heard of Courtney Vandersloot?
I have, but I still think it's Candace.
And then
Okay.
another team some people for the Aces would say Kelsey Plum, actually, even though hers has been more on the shooting end, but she's average. They'll look at, a lot of people are enamored.
She has been one of the best
shooting
defensive
and
perimeter
numbers.
players. It's perfectly fine to have
Exactly.
her as an MVP candidate.
Exactly. But then
All right.
if you look at Aja's 4 blocks per game, like through the first 10 games, I think it was, and then it's cut in half now. But, if you factor that type of stuff in, then, they'll be like, oh, Aja. So.
Yeah. Connecticut is I'm less certain on, but I think you can you can make an argument for 3 players. You can make an argument for John Quell, and that's probably the right answer. You can make an argument for Brianna Jones, just from a numbers standpoint. She's been fantastic. And then you can make an argument for Alyssa, even though her numbers have been hurt, the what she's doing has been really, really crucial for them to take on that playmaking role, even though it's not her standard role. So I think I would go with John Quell in that, but they're all worth talking about.
Okay. How do you guys want to do this? Like go
on, Becky. Who give us the 6 that didn't. That you don't have in your top 5.
I did not divvy it up in the top 5. So that's
okay,
I'm just
fair
staring at my list trying to figure out what to put in my top 5.
Well, yeah, pick the 3 you think have the best case aside from your top 2.
Okay, so the other people I wrote down were, I guess we'll say Alyssa Thomas.
Okay.
And we'll say Sabrina and Elena Deladon.
Yeah.
And then I also looked at Emma, JJ, and Sloot.
Okay.
In terms of who I think would be
that is a fine top 11. I think you can make an argument for any of them in the top 11.
MJ, do you disagree?
No, I won't disagree because my list is kind of wacky.
Oh, I want to hear what's wacky about it.
Oh boy.
It's okay. Well, you ready? We doing mine?
Go for it.
All right. Okay. So I have Aja first, of course. That's obvious because she's averaging 20, 10, and 2. Basically, she's carried the team for most of the year on the defensive end, and it's just about showing up when it counts. At this point, with Becky Hammond, she got the experience, so hopefully she can make them show up. That's really what that's about. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet because I know we're kind of running. I have, of course, Candice Parker. I wrote down in my notes that to me, she's like the LeBron of the WNBA because she could do everything. Only thing is that her team right now that would prevent her from being the MVP, and of course Emma's there, but is that they do it by committee. And Candice seems to just plug and play when they need something. Oh, you need a really fantastic pass. Boom, Candice did it. Oh, you need a 3. Boom, Candice hit it. Oh, you need a good offensive rebound or like a key defensive rebound in order to recover the ball and give your team the possession with a 2-for-1 going up or to attempt to go up at the end of the game with like 30 seconds left in the game. Candice will do it. That's what she is to me. And I also put that, of course, Emma Meeseman is cut into her output. I put Jonquel Jones here, but I was kind of iffy about it. Like she was one of mine because to me, she's kind of similar to Candice, except she doesn't have the cachet. She doesn't have the titles. She doesn't have the reputation. And we can't say that she's like Candice. She does things sometimes Candice like she's made a lot of big shots at times during the season, but she's just not Candice. And then, of course, as we just mentioned, Alyssa Thomas came back rather, and Brianna Jones has been doing her thing. So it's just they're a by committee team, especially with Natisha Heidemann doing what she's been doing lately, coming on as of late. So it's kind of hard to just say, oh yeah, John Quill. Like last year, it was just John Quill Jones. We knew that. We don't know that now. It's not clear cut. I put EDD, Elena Deladon, because she's 50, 40, 90. Do you guys know that?
I did not know that.
She's 50, 40, 90.
Oh, she's done it before. That'd be great if she did it twice.
Yes. And so there's no way she can go 50, 40, 90 and I not have her on this list, which is why I'm actually high on the Mystics. Like we mentioned the other analytics and things, but if she's 50, 40, 90, and if she can elevate herself just a tick in the playoffs, ooh, like this is just going to make that team really look good. I also have Brianna Stewart. I'm losing count. I think I put
yeah, I'm lost already.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Brianna is 5th, and then I got 3 more.
Brianna's 5th for you on your MVP.
I mean, she's the 5th that I start.
Oh, okay.
Notating.
All right.
No order.
Okay.
I just put that she's the constant on this Storm team, and basically her teammates plug and play. Today, Jewel will show up. Tomorrow, now Tina Charles will show up. You know what I'm saying? Like. But the main constant, like game in and game out, has been Brianna Stewart, to the point where she's even averaging a block. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody else outside of Ezzy doing that. So it's just, it's kind of hard to figure out who Seattle is outside of Brianna Stewart, because it's just like, okay, we know we have to defend her, but who else? Who is like an owl? You got to figure out who. So I kind of put her on a pedestal for that reason, because it's just like, well, we know Brianna Stewart is going to perform. Who else is? Then that's not a knock to anybody, because I know they have good players on that team. I know Sue Bird facilitates at a high clip, but I'm just saying, I know what Jewel Lloyd is capable of, but this season we haven't seen it. So that just elevates Brianna that much more, to the point where they thought they needed to bring in Tina Charles, because she doesn't potentially flat out consistent number 2. So they're just like, okay, well, let's roll the dice, or let's shake up the sand in the you know what I'm saying? Like, let's just shake it up a little bit more. So, and see what we can get. I have Kelsey Plum.
Okay.
And we already know why. She's 40, 40, 80 splits. She has increased her points per game by 33% over the last 3 seasons.
Yep.
So she went from 8.6 to 14.8 to 20.1. So,
yeah, most of that is minute. Her usage is almost the same as last year. It's just her minutes have gone up, and she's hitting a lot, taking like a higher, huge percentage of threes. It's like her 3-point rate is like 51%, something like that. It's really crazy. And then she's also hitting a lot more of them. She's up like 44% over whatever it was before.
Plus the defense, like you mentioned.
The defense has been terrible. That's not a good argument for Kelsey Plum, but that's okay.
You said that she was playing better perimeter defense this year.
No, she's not. Absolutely not. I don't know where I said that, but she is 100% is not.
Well, she's
not Kelsey Plum.
To me, this is her breakout season, scoring wise.
No, offensively, I mean, it's a trade-off, and you look at the offensive numbers, and maybe you're fine with making that trade-off.
And I only put her here because I know that there are people that will say, well, look at Kelsey. Would Aja be able to do what she's doing now without Kelsey? So I threw her in there. Then I also threw out, I didn't put any notes with them, although I could say I threw Skylar Diggins-Smith out there. I threw Nneka Nwumike out there, and we know what they're doing. Like, Skylar is scoring like crazy, and that's because she has more touches because Brittany's not there. Free BG. And Nneka is basically the face of the Sparks. Like, if she's not there, they're a dumpster fire. Oh, and shout out to Lexi, because She helps too.
Lexi, we got to mention Lexi on the MVP.
No, I mean, like, I've been watching her. Remember when I said I think Lexi should push point guard?
Mhm.
Somebody said that in the spaces today, and I was like, yes, I've been saying that, even though it's not really her thing. But she is probably the best that will play make them. But outside of those two, and I now actually give Katie Samuelson, a little slack. But everybody else is just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I think, isn't Christy hurt? So
yeah,
it's just like, yeah, with the Sparks, if it wasn't for NECA, they would have the number 1 pick in the next WNBA draft. Trust me.
Well, they wouldn't, because they don't have their first round pick, but I see your point.
They don't have their first
Nope.
round pick. Yes.
Nope.
Just drag them even further.
Yeah, the Mystics would have the first round, the number 1 pick.
And the Mystics would get Aaliyah Boston.
Oh,
Good
my God.
With Shakira
We don't need
Austin and EDD. Oh my God.
We don't need that. All right, just a couple. I didn't really have I didn't do honorable mentions, but just going through some of the names that we've already mentioned. Yeah, I'd mention definitely Alyssa Thomas, Jonquel, Brianna Jones, Emma Mieseman, Courtney Vandersloot, Jackie Young, who has not been mentioned and has the pace has gone down for her, but I would still put her in. I think I would put her in the top 10. If I went that far. My only problem with EDD is she's only played 2/3 of the games. I don't think you can have a WNBA MVP candidate who's only played 2/3 of the games. She has obviously been very great when she does play. Shout out to Sylvia Fowles. Shout out to Sabrina. Shout out to NECA. They've all been fine. None of them are in my top 5. Those have been great players. Let's get into top 5. Becky, who is in your top 5?
So I have a clear top 2.
Yeah, it gets interesting after that.
Can we finally reveal my clear top 2? Brianna and Asia are obviously the top 2.
Okay.
I think Asia has the edge there just because she's on a better team. I just think she's going to get it over Brianna. But
you have the vote. Who would you give?
If either of them, I think I would give it to Asia.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd do. But I think if either of them win it, I go, yeah. Fair. And then rounding out, I have Skylar Diggins-Smith, Candice Parker, and NECA, I guess.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a great top 5. I'll start from the bottom. My number 5 pick is Kelsey Plum, just because she has been in high leverage situations. She's been in the real engine for the offense to a big degree, and it is the number 1 offense in the league. So I believe that she deserves to be up there. I think she should be all WNBA first team. That's going to be a good competition among the guards for that spot. There's a lot of really good candidates for that. Yeah, she's been amazing. Not much more to say than that. The defense hasn't been great, but it is what it is. She's not the only one in that case. And I think for perimeter players, I don't get into it and worry about it as much. It's the post players who really need to hold up the defense. Number 4 for me is Skylar. I don't like picking teams MVP candidates from bad teams, but Phoenix Mercury are at -2.2 net rating, which would be 8th in the league. I've said it many times before. I don't think I've ever seen a perimeter player be as responsible for a team success as Skylar has been this season. Without her, they would just be absolutely lost. She has had several heroic efforts to keep teams in games, even when they don't necessarily win, just doing everything she absolutely can. The effort has been staggering. It's just been off the charts. I think she's been phenomenal. So that's why I would put her there. And then everything that she does, right? Getting to the line, shooting fantastically. She is the best driver amongst any players ever. She's making plays. When Phoenix has success, it always seems to center around her. Number 3 for me is Candice Parker. Best team in the league. She is as much as we can talk about performance, which has been pretty good. The numbers don't jump out at you, but her defense is really fantastic. And I do think that when you consider the intangibles of the effort with which they play, how everybody describes her on the team, the leadership, the heart, how mad she gets when they don't do what they how they're capable of playing. I really do think that you have to look at that and and just kind of acknowledge that she's the heartbeat for this team. I don't think that they're as talented as they are. I just don't think they're as good as they are without her on the team, on the bench, doing what she can do, being who she is. And then just on top of it, easily their best defensive player and such a versatile offensive player all around that makes this whole system kind of work. And then, yeah, I agree with everybody. Top two, I just have it in a different order. I think Asia is the number two, and she's played perfectly fantastic. She is a very good defensive player, but I think the limitations of the players around her have limited her defensive impact. The system has limited her defensive impact. And I'm kind of more involved in the results than in the hypothetical of, yeah, she plays great defense, but if the impact around you isn't, if you're making passes, you're a great passer and you're making passes and people are bricking shots, then your passes aren't really accounting for much. This is being good as opposed to being the MVP. I think that is what relegates her firmly into the second spot for me. But even beyond that, we're talking about Brianna Stewart, and Brianna Stewart has been, somebody was describing on NBA 2K22, her player on NBA 2K22, and saying, this is totally unfair. When you play against her, she does everything. You can't stop her. She shoots too well. She always gets to the rim. She does all this, that. She's a killer defensive player. This is great. I'm just like thinking, yeah, that's basically how she's played though. She has played like a unfair 2K22 player. She has played like an unfair video game player, and she has had it's part of it is the necessity of her having to do so much to make this team succeed, but she's doing it, and I really can't. She is 100% the defensive player of the year. I feel even more strongly about that than I do about her on the offensive side. Is that she is just been so great on defense, just does everything extremely well. Rim protection, jumping out on players, help defense, the works for putting people in position to have turnovers. Part of that is being surrounded by some great defensive talent, and Ezzy and Gabby, that makes her job a little bit easier, but she's just been phenomenal. She is the centerpiece of a really, really good defense. And then on top of that, she's just an offensive dynamo. She does everything: the shooting, driving, passing, the works. Brianna has been, even before their silly little, queen graphic that they put up today, I thought she was the MVP. They went with stats, and I just think you could put together a highlight package of like everything that she does out on the floor. She is just having bonkers season. I think it's even better than her 2018 season. It is. I don't know that it's as impactful as 2019 Elena Deladon was with that team, but it's just from an individual effort, it is absolutely phenomenal. I don't care that Seattle is a fourth place team. I think that she has just been otherworldly, and I think that she is surprisingly a runaway. I would, if Asia wins, I'm not going to be mad, obviously, but I think that Brianna really, really, really deserves it. So that is it.
The little social media campaigns the teams do matter. I feel like they
not
do.
really. I think most people looked at the Seattle one and thought it was really silly.
There's some teams that really go hard for their certain players, like the Connecticut Sun did last year, and then they got all of the individual awards. And then there's some teams like the Sky don't do anything for their play. I don't know. I just wonder how much that impacts.
Yeah,
because the voters are just, media people who, people who are just paid to talk about sports. How much do they know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're unpaid, so
that's true. Maybe the gift baskets, the baskets that they receive along with the, here's our campaign for Elena Deladon, or here's our campaign for blah, 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 blah. It might work for defense, because I can never figure out all defense by the time when it comes out. I'm just like, what were you watching? I don't understand.
Can I give Candace a label?
What's Candace's label?
Candace, you know about Bret Hart?
Yeah, the wrestler, right?
Candace is the new and improved the 2022 excellence of execution. That's Candace.
the best
Candice
there
Parker.
ever was and the best there ever will be, or whatever.
He's the
his
best
other
there
thing.
is. Well, shout out to Maya Moore, but right now,
Okay, you meant to say.
Candice Parker, right now, yeah, she's the excellence of execution. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Candice Parker.
I remember coming into the league where she was kind of at, and then she had one really injury racked season. I can't remember which one. It was 2019, I think. And we were kind of wondering, well, is she going to recover from that? And then she had a really good 2020, and it's been all sunshine and roses from there. We were waiting for her to fall off, and then it never happened. And she's added so much to her legacy in these past 2 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, no complaints. I think she definitely deserves to be on the podium for the MVP this year. Chicago, it's hard to point out from Chicago's various contributors, but Candace is great. So
I'll just want to also add that Coco pretty much ordered my order.
Okay.
Of these, because who did you have first, Coco? Asia?
She had Asia first, yeah.
And then Candace?
Oh no, then I had Brianna.
Brianna, and then
Asia,
Skylar.
Brianna.
Yeah, Brianna. Okay, so
Skylar,
yeah, 'cause
Candace, and I forgot the one.
and she had like pretty much mentioned all the people I mentioned too. You did too, because you mentioned Kelsey Plum. Anyway, go ahead with the show, man.
All right.
Because mine was all over the place.
That's fine. That's how we do. We're a mess.
The mess.
For your 6th pod of the year, everybody enjoy, if you can, if you're able to watch the Commissioner's Cup game. If you don't have Amazon Prime, don't worry about it. The game doesn't
Send
count
your
anyway.
password.
Yeah, MJ will share his Amazon Prime account password with you. Just DM.
No, I don't have it.
Oh, there you go.
Send me yours.
Oh, send to MJ your password. Send
Twitter
MJ your
handle.
password so he can watch it, or
Yes,
just watch it on
please.
League Pass later if it's any good.
You got to do it in real time, Snap. Come on,
Do
radio.
you? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Look, I got to sit up here and watch you and Coco tweet. Might go already on Coco tweeting about the game. I ain't even watching that. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go figure me out a subscription. Somebody got it, or if not,
You find
I'm gonna go
somebody.
and get it again. I'm gonna get it again.
Anyway, get the stupid game off of Amazon Prime and let everybody watch it. How about that? Why don't we do that, WNBA?
Why is the commissioner? Let me have a rant. Let me have one of these Coco.
All right, go for it.
Dear WNBA, Coco, what game was you watching the other day? Was it yesterday? And I'm like, what channel? And it was like CBSSN or something like that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't watch the game.
Oh yeah, I don't remember what game that was, but
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. It wasn't a league pass. The stream that I was trying to watch it on, I couldn't pull it up. Don't come get me, people, because I watch streams, whatever. Yeah, like, and then now you mean to tell me that something that is literally the WNBA Commissioner's Cup, we're not getting it on at least League Pass?
Nope.
Not
to start.
Or national TV, ESPN?
Nope.
ABC?
But
Prime
we have a
Video.
partnership with Amazon Prime, baby.
Okay, so shout out to the partnership. I ain't gonna get mad at the money. All right, go ahead, close the show, man. I'm done.
This has been the 6th pod of the year. For MJ Tolliver, for Robococo, I am Snap Wilson. Everybody have a great week. One of us will be back to gloat or not care about the Commissioner's Cup, or probably have forgotten it by then next week. So y'all enjoy yourselves. We will catch you in another 7 days. Peace out.
Peace out.
bye.
There you go.